ideas for life, as you all know, is a brainchild of Sudha and Deepa. Alright, it's basically to sensitize us to so many other things that's happening around us, which we in our day-to-day life might just not be able to appreciate and have the time to even look into. So I'm extremely happy that today we are having two amazing women in our midst, which is Anuradha and Namratha. Thank you so much for making it. They run a cheese making outfit called Kase, and they will tell you more about it.
Thanks for the lovely intro, Janaki, and I am Anuradha, and that's my partner in crime, Namratha. We both have been cheesemakers, Chennai's cheesemakers for the past 2 years. So we've been known as Chennai's cheesemakers now, and so we thought let us also let you know what we've been up to before making cheese. One thing, I do not know if many of you have had the experience of doing something that you didn't want to do when you were in college. So that is what happened to me. As luck would have it, there was one subject that I hated, which was chemistry. And yes, I got into doing 3 years of chemistry. And one important lesson after 3 years of doing chemistry was that I didn't want to do anything related to chemistry after that. But then the important lesson for us as an entrepreneur later on in life is that you need to adapt. You need to make the most of what was available with you. So from there, how cheese? That's the most important question, I guess. I'm going to take a small little break here because Namratha here is going to, work on your appetite, tell you a bit about the cheese per se, what we are doing, and then we come back to the Kase story. Yeah?
I love food. I love to cook. It's not about eating so much myself, but I love feeding people. Like that's somewhere I had figured out that cooking for people and feeding them made me really happy. So what should I do? Maybe make a lot of money and open a restaurant. That was. And so I think that was what, and along this whole thing, I think I had been associated with some cause. I mean, I'm trying to say this to bring a common ground between me and Anu and how we landed up. So I don't, the background social thing is as I was working, there is a Chennai-based company called Dean Foundation, so I was to volunteer time for them, I used to work with them. There's a company called Datri that has India's first unrelated donor registry. So I worked with Datri, as in volunteer time for them, I worked with them in terms of spreading the message. So somewhere there was always this thing that while you do your thing and earn your bread and butter, there needs to be some time to help out and be a little more useful to the society. I think that theme was there which resonated when Anu and I sat down for coffee at Anoki one day to discuss how I could help at Can-Do and develop a certain kind of skill. So what is artisan cheese? Okay. What is processed cheese?
Stuff that comes in packets?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'm sure you've seen a whole lot of these kind of things, some old bright, colorful, and then a very different looking section over here. So processed cheese are what is industrially made in the factories. So large US companies like Kraft, Amul, Britannia, they all do this, which is, well, not even cheese. It's 20% milk solids, which can be milk powder, whatever, 80% of vegetable fats. So it's something which is really stable. It can stay on the shelf for a really long time. Amul cheese that you probably had when you were 10 years old and what you have when you're 30 or 40 is going to be the same because it's a formula, right? Day in and day out it's made using the formula. There are a whole lot of preservatives, additives and everything that's added to it. It's going to taste the same forever. Not so with natural cheese. It's completely different. Natural cheese is just milk and milk alone. So we'll talk about the cheese making process as such. But the biggest distinction is artisan cheese, as the name suggests, something that's handcrafted, made in small batches, not large quantities, no factories. A lot of people tell us that, okay, we can't visit a factory. So when they say that, like, okay, just to tone down the expectation, it is not a factory, it's a kitchen. Yeah, people walked in, I've had chefs walk in and say, oh, but where are you making the cheese? I'm like, right here. This is what we make. So, you're free to, you're welcome to come and visit us. We're not far from here. It's just a regular kitchen. Okay, we've got patrons which look like, maybe 30 liters that you don't use in your kitchens. Slightly bigger sized vessels and things like that, but that's basically what you need. What is very important, what you need to understand is milk. Where your milk comes from, what milk you use for cheese making. You cannot make milk with almond cheese. Cheese with almond milk.
Yes.
Definitely not. So what is milk? What does milk consist of? Question. Casein. Yes. What is casein? Yes. So milk has predominantly casein and albumin, two proteins. There is calcium, there are about 84 different kinds of micronutrients, a whole lot of other things. Cow milk has only about 2 to 4% fat. So now we meet a lot of people who look at cheese and say, oh, it's fat, I don't eat it. Right? Not true. So it's a lot of protein. There is, of course, fat. So what happens is in the cheese making process, there are enzymes that are added to it. Now enzymes are naturally, the way it's done is earlier days, the traditional form of cheese making. There's something called rennet, or it's a group of enzymes that's found in the stomach lining of mammals. And that breaks down the milk or coagulates the milk protein and forms something called the cheese curds. So there is this little bit of trivia about why you should eat cheese. So apparently cheese helps you, if you can go back to the previous slide, yeah. No, the previous one. So this is a very important slide. I think cheese contains amino acid, which is basically broken down protein, something called tyrosine, and they release. So have you heard of dopamine? Yeah. So the the reward center, right?
Yes.
So cheese activates the dopamine. Okay, so it makes you happy. So if you're looking for one good reason to eat cheese, just eat it because it makes you happy. That's it. The mice knows it as well. So there's a saying: if just saying cheese can make you smile, just imagine what eating it is going to do to you. So this is the slide to take back home. This is the only thing to remember. So these are some stats just for you. It says 34% fat, the rest is protein. There are micronutrients. If it's not factory made, if it's made in the proper style, cheese is a very good source of dense nutrients. Now we all have grown up hearing drink your milk, there is a lot of calcium in that, right? Not true. The moment you start heating your milk, the calcium is gone. The calcium is the first thing that leaches out, right? So typically the milk that we get has been ultra high heat treated. So you see this UHT that's appearing on your packets everywhere now. We'll not get too much into reading of a label, but then we are happy to talk about it because there is just so much that we don't know. In this day of where we think it's convenient to reach out to a packet and grab something and eat from it, we do that, right? Because we're all working, we're all busy. But it's very important to realize where your food comes from, which is also you hear a lot about this farm to table and all that. So there are two groups. There's a group that believes that there is a large population which has to be fed. So things have to be industrialized. That is the most efficient way. On the other hand, there is this group that believes that no, come back and do things the traditional way. And because it's sort of a losing art, it seems like it's a more expensive way of life. So there are people who are being blamed for being elitist and doing this artisanal, not really for the masses. But you never know. It's about numbers. It's about the economies of scale. It could be. So there's a story of how probably the first cheese was discovered. Interestingly, there's this story that the more I've learned about it, every place there is this cheese story, and that's invariably tied to a shepherd boy or a shepherd girl. Or whatever. So the thing is, the shepherd boy was carrying his sheep milk in a pouch made with the lining of the sheep's skin, the intestine, right? So which basically has the enzyme. So, and there is a slow movement as he walks in that agitation. He goes down midday sometime, he wants to drink his milk. when he takes the pouch, there's a clear fluid and there is a lump of the solid. So the solid and liquid have separated. And then eventually he realizes that that solid part stays for a long time. So they also say that cheese's milks lead towards mortality. Right? The milk will spoil. I think I was just talking to Banu about this myths that we know around heating the milk and boil it and then put it in your fridge. Actually, if you leave your milk outside, the spoilage will be slower and it will just become ethyl instead of putting it in the fridge where it would go bad more rapidly and it's inedible. Right? So, also it's believed that cheese was probably first made around Asia. So when you talk about good cheese, the first thing is probably French, Italian and all this, but most probably it wasn't around there. It was somewhere in Asia that all this, because all of them are shepherd, very Arabic kind of stories which are about the origin. Cheese traveled everywhere, but I think what they had to their advantage was beautiful weather conditions, which is perfect for sort of aging the cheese for long. The question that we often get asked is, oh, how do you make cheese in Chennai heat? You know, we do have our difficulties there that you can't really age the cheese for too long. Most often people come asking for Parmesan. Now, most of you will be familiar with the cheese which is Parmesan. It can be Parmesan only after it's been aged for 36 months. If we do it in Chennai, it will be like molten and all over the place. So we don't even try doing that. You need that kind of a weather, you need that steady thing. I mean, where do you bring terroir, like where do you bring that environment from? So there are, like Amalga pudding cheese is quite famous if you want to give it a try. Thank you. Okay, so just a little bit about the process. It's milk. Milk is coagulated using an enzyme. So we use something called a vegetarian rennet that most of you would be. So it's not animal rennet, but something from a plant source. That basically separates the milk, the solids from the fluid part, which is the whey. Depending on what cheese is being made. For example, if it's a mozzarella, it's heated. If it's a feta, it's a completely raw milk cheese. If it's a cheddar, it's scald, it's pressed, it's dried. So there are these very simple techniques, but if you look at it, there are thousands of varieties of cheese across the world. People make many, many different styles. Everything starts and ends with milk, right? So what makes it different is this, when do you salt it? Do you press it? Do you not press it? Do you hang it? And depending on which part of the world cheese is being made, they have improvised on those techniques. Basic styles of cheese, if you want to know, there's the fresh, which is, as the name suggests, you make it and you eat it. One example is a paneer, which is typically not cheese, but because if you understand that India traditionally has been a vegetarian nation, so animal rennet was not something which was ever used in food. So the only way you could split the solid from the liquid was using an acid. Somehow it was discovered and that is what was used. But things like feta, mozzarella on the pizza, feta for your salads, these are all fresh cheeses. Semi-soft are, if you have heard of the Gouda, which comes from Netherlands, and it's again something which has been aged for about 3 or 4 weeks and it's ready to eat. Bloomy rind. Now, is everybody familiar with a brie or a camembert? So it's a round cheese, typically French, and because of the weather and a certain kind of microbe, it develops a hair-like thing on the surface. It's usually white and it's perfectly okay to eat it. So that's and bloomy, so something blooming on the surface. So rind is the skin. Semi-hard, so things again like aged cheddars are your hard cheese. Then you go on to your real hard cheese, which is like your Parmesan, which is aged for 36 months. You have something called washed rind. Now these are more modern ones, where you make a cheese and then you keep washing the surface either with the alcohol or with some kind of interesting liquid just to clean. And those are usually really pungent, sticky, and you need a strong stomach to stomach them. And then the blues, right? So the blue happens because of a certain kind of bacteria or a microbe called the Penicillium roqueforti, and it's naturally available. So interestingly, what Penicillium roqueforti does is when it's on our food, it's toxic. It rots the food. But when it's on the cheese, it's the most beautiful thing. So pairing or how do you eat your cheese? This is because we get asked this question all the time. How do I eat my cheese? Just eat it on its own. It's a snack. Do you snack during tea time? Probably a biscuit, some nuts or something. Then try having a cheese. So cheese pairs really well with nuts, right? So nuts are your fiber, they're giving you micronutrient. I mean, if you're somebody who talks about having a balanced diet and everything, or for breakfast, melt a piece of cheese, just chew on a piece of cheese. It's filling, gives you, so either a snack or a breakfast. You don't necessarily have to use cheese for cooking. But we do that. I mean, just to show you how versatile cheese can be, we had this thing where we made feta paniyaram, halwa. So we had corn and feta paniyaram, and then something on the dosa. So what you need to understand is the cheese going to melt or not going to melt? Like a feta will not melt. So it's probably best to have it in something cold. Mozzarella, cheddars, and a couple of things that we've got for you, they all melt beautifully. So you want to have a grilled cheese sandwich, you want to put on your vegetables, you can do that. But again, the true character of the cheese is revealed when you have it on its own room temperature. So just what a lot of people don't know is we often say cheese and wine. You don't need a glass of wine to enjoy your cheese. It's beautiful with tea and coffee, not the milk ones. Like black tea or black coffee. Complement cheese really well. Wines have something called tannin, which comes from the skin, which sort of help get a lot of flavor when you complement. Cheese is basically flat, buttery, so it would help you get the taste of other things, right? So think about it that you are having something, you sip your coffee, like a black coffee, and you think, okay, it's maybe early, I get some, and then you have cheese and you have your coffee. It's a beautiful experience. You get something different. So we do a lot of coffee and cheese pairing. You can try that on your own as well if you like green tea. It's beautiful. So yeah, so forget cheese and wine. Go for that coffee or tea.